The USA and China are fighting a war, an invisible war where there are no soldiers, no tanks and no missiles. This war is being fought inside government offices and company boardrooms. This is a war for the most valuable thing in the world, the microchip. It's hard to believe that something so tiny, small enough to sit on your fingertip, can run the entire world. But it does. Right now there's a lot going on in international politics because of this chip, and I want you all to understand the reason behind the tension between the USA and China, because this is going to affect all our lives. I'm not sure if you know this or not, but our modern world and its entire future depends on microchips. Every electronic thing runs on this semiconductor or microchip. From the clock on your wall to your refrigerator, your television, your microwave, your phone, your laptop. Each one runs because of this chip. Even this video you're watching is running because of a microchip. And more importantly, every modern military weapon, radars, missiles, jets, they all depend on microchips. So whoever controls these chips will have the most powerful and advanced military in the world. But when did the USA-China conflict over this actually begin? What's the real backstory behind it? And where is this race for the microchip heading? Let's find out in this video. Across the oceans, Japan also jumped into this race. Japanese companies started making high-quality microchips at low prices and began supplying them to the American market. Now, obviously, how could America tolerate that? So in 1987, USA put a 100% tax on Japanese microchips, and because of that, the Japanese chip industry crashed in just 6 months. During all this, another Asian country was watching the situation very closely. Taiwan was keeping a close eye on Japan and America, and it understood that if it wanted to survive in the microchip market, it shouldn't compete with American companies, but support them instead. And this is where a very interesting twist came in. Basically, these microchips were made in very special factories called FABS. Making chips wasn't an easy job, and it needed a special environment because even a tiny grain of dust could ruin the chip. That's why they were made in special factories like the one you're seeing in this footage. The problem was that running these factories cost a lot of money. It took crores to maintain that environment, and that's why microchips were quite expensive at that time. Now let's come back to Taiwan. At that time, many of Taiwan's engineers were working in American microchip companies. The Taiwanese government saw a big opportunity in all this. On one side of Taiwan was China, which was going through an economic miracle and trying to somehow bring Taiwan back into China. So if Taiwan could make microchips for American companies at a lower cost, then naturally, America would protect Taiwan against China. The Taiwanese government gave big incentives to its engineers living in America and called them back to Taiwan. The government even paid for their tickets and gave them full tax exemption so they could set up microchip making companies in Taiwan. One of those engineers was Morris Chang. Since Morris had worked in American microchip making companies himself, he knew what their problem was. Running these factories cost too much, and they wanted to somehow reduce the operational cost. To solve this, Morris gave the idea that the design, software, and marketing of chips would happen in America, but their manufacturing would take place in Taiwan. This way, the cost of microchips could be reduced by up to 50%. To fulfill this purpose, in 1987, a state-owned company called Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company, TSMC, was created. Its job was to manufacture chips based on American companies' demand. In just 14 years, TSMC had become a giant. Now, 92% of the world's advanced microchips were being made in Taiwan, and this is where China enters the story. By the end of the year 2000, 2000, China was reaching the peak of its manufacturing boom, and now it needed chips to advance in technology. China started buying microchips from Taiwan. By 2010, China was buying 40% of all the world's microchips. And the whole cycle worked like this. The microchip software and design were made in the USA, the chips were manufactured in Taiwan, and 40% of the chips were going to China. So if you look at it, China was still dependent on the USA for these chips. To break this chain, the Chinese government made a decision. First, they had to end their dependence on America for chips, no matter what. Second, they needed a lot of chips so they could make high-tech missiles, jets, drones, radars, and guns, because it was impossible to compete with America without a strong military. China came up with a very smart solution. Money is everyone's weakness, and China took advantage of that weakness. They started giving American companies millions of dollars to buy microchip technology, chip design software. All these things China started buying from American companies, and the manufacturing was being done by Taiwan for them. So using America's own technology, China was making weapons to fight against America. In 2021, the Washington Post claimed that China was building super advanced nuclear laboratories using American microchip technology. And then on October 20th, 2021, China shocked America.
China's new missile capability. There's a new report indicating China could soon be able to deploy a nuclear-tipped missile that U.S. defenses would find much harder to detect.
And it's understood that U.S. intelligence had no idea.
On the morning of October 20th, 2021, when American military generals woke up, they found out that China had made a missile that was 5 times faster than the speed of sound. And not just that, it could also carry a nuclear bomb, and more importantly, no American radar could currently detect it. American intelligence had no idea that China had gotten so far ahead in military technology, and that too, using America's own microchip technology. This was the same technology that America had been working on for the past 10 years, but China had easily beaten them. American think tanks held their heads in shock. They couldn't understand what had just happened. How did China quietly move ahead of them without them even knowing? In 2022, the Biden administration put strict export restrictions on China. No American company was allowed to export anything technology related to any Chinese company. Not just American companies, but any company in the whole world that used American software or designs to make microchips was now not allowed to deal with any Chinese company. So if we go back to this supply chain, then yes, this ban would definitely hurt China. But on the other hand, American companies would also face losses of billions of dollars, and that's exactly what happened. Nvidia, a very big American microchip making company, lost $400 million in just 4 months. But to protect its sovereignty, America had no other choice. This microchip is not an ordinary thing. It is the most powerful thing of the 21st century. Just 40 years ago, whoever had oil had power and money. Today, that same importance belongs to microchips. Our entire future depends on them. Whoever controls these chips will rule the world in the future. Now, America has made its move. The question is, what will China do in response? And this is where Taiwan becomes the most important player in this entire conflict. About 100 miles from China, Taiwan is in big trouble right now. On one side, there is America warning Taiwan not to give microchips to China. And on the other side, China is looking for the right moment, that if Taiwan stops supplying chips, it might attack Taiwan. And of course, if China attacks, then America might attack China in return.
U.S. forces, U.S. men and women, would defend Taiwan in the event of a Chinese invasion.
Yes.
But the real question is, will China really attack Taiwan? We've given a detailed answer to this question in the video, but I can briefly tell you that China probably won't do a full-scale attack because superpowers never directly confront each other. The safest option for China is to send its navy ships and block Taiwan. By holding Taiwan like a hostage, it can break the entire supply chain and then watch how America responds. If America responds to this action by coming to the table for talks, then that's well and good. But if America answers this blockade with military action, then the consequences will be very dangerous. The world still hasn't recovered from the effects of the Russia-Ukraine war. A clash between 2 big superpowers would literally be the final nail in the coffin. We're going through a very dangerous time right now. Who will win this race of making microchips? That only time will tell.